Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Boy, oh boy, Mike, did I think I was putting in the overtime during the summer? Little did I know the best was yet to come. How are you,
Well,
Panozzo?
yeah, good, good, good. I just, I spent, the whole weekend sitting on the lake in a boat with my phone, watching and giggling while you blew up like a Roman candle.
Yeah, well, I got when you get tired of someone's shit, Mike, you get tired of someone's shit. So,
There
it
you go.
was a interesting weekend. I didn't expect it to be the way it did. We've already had a show discussing as much, a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
It was great to have Ed in the chat last night. We did a show with Joey and kind of
Ed might
hear
have been.
firsthand.
Ed might as well have just been in the show.
Yeah, the way we were going back and forth, which by the way is always welcome to come on. So, as is anyone. But I get a message from Mike this morning, and Mike says, "Son, we
Glutton
gotta
for
have another
punishment.
show. Yeah, we gotta have another show." So, Mike, here we are, man. Here we are.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's I'm not trying to come off as like I'm going to be a defender of the WPA
Oh
because
boy,
I
this is one of
well,
those. I mean this with all due respect kind of lines. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it kind of does because I was on the show with you and Ishan,
Right. Right.
and
Right.
I think we both scratched our head a lot, rolled our eyes a lot, and thought, why is this guy digging this trench deeper and deeper? But by the same token, I have watched a lot of the social media fly by in the last 3 or 4 days,
Right.
and it gets to the point where the piling on part of it kind of started to get to me, and I thought, um, you know, some of this just isn't right. I mean, it's just too easy at this point to just say the WPBA is stupid, WPA is not essential, WPBA or the WPA is not essential, WPA steals money, all this kind of stuff. And so I just thought, there needs to be a little bit of understanding beyond this banning players. We're not going to argue at all about their current stance and where they appear to be going on October 7th is dumb. It's counterproductive. It's not going to end well. Right. But some of these other things, I just think, there needs to be a little more clarification, a little better understanding. I mean, you had some posts from former players who played in the Moscone Cup, and I read their posts. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh, well, let me ask you what I asked Ishan towards the end of that interview.
Yeah.
What would you say the WPA does?
What would I say the WPA does?
That was his response.
It's an worldwide governing body, okay, which in virtually all sports one of these exists, and they oversee. They help focus rules. They promote the sport not by tournaments, but by marketing, by things of that nature, and they create a worldwide system that prevents the sport from becoming used by multiple or one, monopolized by one, or used by multiple for-profit companies that may or may not have the best interest of the global sport at heart. Okay, they in many parts they promote development of the sport. That's a huge thing in any sport, right? So there's an International Baseball Federation. Nobody's going to confuse that with the Major League Baseball, and they're not telling the Major League Baseball how to play its game, how to make its money, how to charge players, right? Same thing with tennis, these type of federations. So, and most of those federations are IOC recognized, which again, to me, becomes the focal point of a lot of what the WPA's value is. Okay. And it's not, do we get into the Olympics? I don't give a shit if we trust me. I would be the first person to say pool has got zero chance in the next 100 years of being in the Olympics. Zero.
Well, I would take the under, but you may not be around to pay off. So that'd be my issue there, Mike. But
Yeah.
I agree with you, and you make some interesting points. A lot of things I can also disagree with you on when it comes to the marketing and things like that, because I
No,
just.
no, no.
But
What I don't think you would disagree is that should be one of their functions. What I think we
oh,
will
I think they
agree,
should.
and I
Yeah,
think what we agree on is that they do a shit job of it. And
agreed.
nobody knows that they're trying to do that. Okay, so again, my argument is more about um, defending the existence of a WPA, not defending the actions of this WPA.
Okay. So then let's separate it then and show me where, because for me, when as I stated, last night and a few times before, is I do feel like there's a place for them when it comes to, and I don't mean this as a dig or a backhanded compliment, but when it comes to the development of amateurs through these federations globally, right? But I don't think they have a place when it comes to the professional side of the game, because I don't see where they add any value other than give me versus let me help here.
Um, See, I will disagree with you on this differentiation between amateur and pro. What they do is they're in many of these cases with their continental federations and the national federations within those continental groups. A lot of it is development of players who become the pro players. It's not an amateur. They're not. They're not their amateur in the sense of the APA or CSI or amateur pool leagues. They should be in the business of helping develop tomorrow's pros. Okay,
For
amateur
the
league associations aren't developing tomorrow's pros.
Okay,
They're
but if
they're just satisfying today's amateurs.
okay, but if you're developing tomorrow's pros, at some point you have to send them off and let them fly their
100%.
wings, right?
100%.
So, in what environment are you sending them off over to, and how are you helping grow and cultivate that area?
Okay, let's take the EPBF for example, and the
Oh,
Euro Tour,
beautiful.
for example.
Okay.
Okay. Now, there are not all countries in the EPBF have this government funding that supports all these players. So there are some countries that do, for sure. Germany, Poland, Holland. There's three or four, maybe a half dozen companies that have decent funding to
Countries.
help programs. Right now, German federations say they have 8, 10 players that they pay for them to go to the Euro Tour. They pay for them, they pay their entry and their expenses, right? They pay for them to go to camps, training camps, multiple times a year, half a dozen or more times a year, right? So they're cultivating these players to become pros. Okay. And there are players like Josh who are already pros, right? But so they're using government funding to help these players go into the pro arena to become famous, to help bring notoriety to Germany and the German Pool Federation, and things like that. But there's
So
stipulations.
the German Federation is paying these players money to go attend a Euro tour, right? Where they're not really making any money, right?
Right?
Where they're not making,
Not
but
costing them any money. They're getting better.
so they're get. I'm not arguing whether or not they're getting better, because we all know
Okay.
the monsters that are coming out of Germany, the monsters that are coming out of Europe, right? But I'd imagine that some of that money that they're taking from the federation, putting into the EPBF, that some of those things are then put into for-profit companies that someone is making money off of, Mike.
You talking
Would you?
about what are you? I'm not sure what you're talking about there.
So let's say that for-profit business that David owns, that was kind of talked about but not really talked about, where he's a member of the EPBF board, but then I
It's
forgot
a
the name of.
foundation, Mike. It's a foundation. Didn't he say that? He said it. He said it's a foundation. He said it's a
Okay,
foundation.
sure, Mike. Whatever, however you want to paint that brush, Mike. But my point is that somebody's making money off of it, right? And I get it. They're growing players. They're growing players, right? But then what are they doing to help these professional players have some sort of life? as a professional. Who gives a shit if they make the best
No,
players in the world if
and
there's
now
no
to me,
environment for them to be able to make a
Matchroom's
living
job,
off of it?
to me, that's Matchroom's job then, is to help them, is to be that professional platform for them. So when they get
Fair
there,
enough, but then have that separation then. I
okay,
think
so
that's
then
fair.
let's have that separation. So let's look at, we talked before about the Polish Federation. Okay. So Polish Federation just banned their players from playing in the Asian Open, right? For whatever reason. It's too close to the World 8-Ball, which is WPA sanctioned, yada,
Which
yada,
by the
yada. Okay.
which by the way, one WPA sanction event in the Japan Open is pretty close to a Predator event by a couple of days as well, Mike. I don't see anybody
But,
up in arms
but
about that.
here's where I'm going with this, is that, say you play for the Polish Federation. Okay.
God,
Now,
I
the
wish I
Polish
could.
Federation pays for you gives you money to go to the WPA events, gives you money gives you scholarship money
Right.
educationally, for military, whatever other things they do. At that point, would you not find it understandable that they would have you sign a contract saying, here, this is what we're going to do for this year. We're going to give you this money to go here. We're going to give you this money to play in these events. We're going to give you this money for your education. But you have to play in our events. Okay. If you skip our events to play in someone else's event, we're going to take that money back from you. Okay. We're going to expect you to pay us back that money. Okay. Would that be
if you're not attending these WPA events, right?
correct?
Is that what you're saying?
Or
Okay.
not attending a Euro Tour event. If they're paying for you to go to the Euro Tour events, you got to go to the Euro Tour event. So, and I'm not saying that I like it or it's not strong-handed. I'm just saying that, when people talk about why is there a player's stipulation that you can't, a restriction stipulation in this Polish Billiard Federation's contract with players, that why isn't that the same as, why shouldn't Matchroom be able to have one in theirs?
Well,
And
I agree.
my answer to that would be that I'm giving you money and I'm supporting your education, whatever. You owe me some allegiance, right?
In
Matchroom
turn,
is
you have
not
to
paying
do A,
anybody.
B, and C. You have to do A, B, and C
Right,
in order to
right.
do it. Right.
But you look at Matchroom, they have a player's contract, but they're not guaranteeing anybody anything. So I can see there's a little difference in arguing for and against one of those stipulations in a contract. So, I'm just saying that there's a way that these organizations work if they're getting government funding, that you have to
it sounds a lot like what is it, like the NCAA, Mike, in the sense, like, I'm in college, I get a 4-year ride if I'm a great player, right? But I get a chance to get a degree. If I go turn pro, well, then I got to pay for that ride now, right? Because now I'm deemed a professional, and so I get, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If they choose to do that and they sign up for it, then you got to fulfill it, right? It's an obligation. We're all adults here, and even if they're kids, they know that, hey, listen, this is the expectation. If you don't follow through, then there's going to be repercussions. But I don't think that should also come with the stipulation that you cannot attend non-WPA events. That I don't think is necessarily fair, because then you're saying you can only play in these events, but is it sustainable enough for them to be able to earn a living off of?
I agree. I don't disagree with that at all. I think that the WPA and their federations are taking their rules and regulations and contracts to an extreme to try to prove a point. And it's, I feel bad for the players. I feel bad. You look at these players, particularly, I keep going back to German and Polish players because they're in probably the two strongest federations. These guys got decisions to make come February, right? And it's a shame that gun's being put to their head.
What do you mean come February, Mike?
What's that?
What do you mean come February?
Or come January or February, because at the beginning of next year, they're going to have to sign another contract for next year. Do I want to be a part of the Polish national team? Do I want to be part of the German national team and get this kind of funding and get this kind of training and get all this kind of stuff? Or do I want to say no and roll all my own money into attending all the Matchroom events? Okay, you're going to have to. Some of these guys are going to have to make this decision the way things are going right now, and that's what bothers me more than anything.
As an adult, what is your goal in life, Mike?
Boy, you got me on that.
You want to live well, right? You want to live well, and
I
a
want
lot
to
of
be
the
happy, Mike, and I'm happy
well,
right
that's true.
now.
Of course, that's
I
true.
just want to be. I
Are
just
you
want to
happy
be
right now,
happy.
Mike?
I'll be
Are you
happier
happy
when
right
this
now?
is over. I know that.
Listen, you blew up my phone calling for this General Assembly on the Doggin podcast. No, listen, you wanna be able to um, live your life, be happy. You want to be able to follow your dreams. If you're a lot of these guys, right? They love playing pool fundamentally. All this bullshit drama that comes with it, I'm sure, sucks the life out of them, and they're not compensated enough for it to justify it, right? But they
Right.
love the game. They love playing. Guys like Josh and Shane in his younger years, and they love playing pool, and they're great enough where they do it at a extremely elite level. The sport's in disarray, and it's unfortunate because there's not a way for these guys to get money where it makes sense for all of them, because we know travel costs are through the roof, et cetera, right? But I would think, and I'd be willing to wager a little bit, that a lot of these guys are going to go with Matchroom. And the reason being is because there's more opportunity there. There's more opportunity to make more money. While you may get a free ride to these WPA events, right? There's not a whole lot of them. We don't know what next year is going to look like, but we know what Matchroom's done with the calendar just in the short few years that they've really jumped headfirst into 9-ball. I'm on the verge of leaving for the U.S. Open in a few weeks, and I remember the first U.S. Open that Matchroom took over years ago at Mandalay, pre-COVID, right? And I think about the way that pool was then, and slowly but surely they've not only added to their catalog, but they've been able to work with other promoters around the world to develop this tour, which gives players an opportunity to make more money. And truth be told, I think it's only the beginning. I'm a buyer of that. I'm a buyer when it comes to that. They're going to continue to grow this and have more added money, more events,
I
more opportunity for
I
players.
agree.
Where I'm not going to buy in to the EPBF and their model the way that it's been over the last 10 years. I'm not going to buy into the WPA and their model the way that it's been the last however many decades, Mike.
I don't disagree with that at all. I just think it's I'm looking at a couple of things. One, I talked to one player who was like, okay, here's what I got for the rest of the year. I got the U.S. Open, I got the Asian Open, I got Vietnam, I got Qatar, I got international, I've got Predator and in Puerto Rico, all that. I'm looking 30 grand in out of my pocket from now to the end of the year. Okay. There's and the opportunity is there in these events to make big money, decent money, right? But not a lot of guys are going to do that. And there's
Nope,
not
they're
a
not.
lot of guys who can pull that out of their pocket in the next 6 months. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of, you look at a lot of these younger players, and it's really getting into being a tough situation for them to have to make a decision at this point in their lives, because that's a big nut. That's a big nut, right? And so, I'm not 100% sure what the answer is. I just know that it's
But this
putting a
is
gun
where
to
I
somebody's
love.
head at this
Listen,
point.
this is where I got even more love and respect for a kid like Federer. You know what he did, Mike? He started doing training. He started signing cue balls. He started, exercising his social media presence. He went to the U.S. because he wasn't allowed to play in these prestigious events, right? And just figured out a way, no matter what, right? And now he's thriving. Now he's coming back and he's getting his wheels greased on the more proper professional stage. But I would ask him, hey, where are you going to go? Because I think I know the answer to it. I think you know the answer to it, Mike. I think
Yeah,
WPA knows the answer to a lot of these players in question. Now, I agree with you. It's tough for those. It's tough for the top, let's say, 20 guys to make it in the green after this gauntlet of events. But here's the
right.
deal: some things that aren't talked about. Predator also pays the expenses for a lot of these guys to be able to play in Predator events. That's a part of a lot of those guys' deals, right? Which I'm sure is well known within the industry, right? So that's something that they go and get as a part of being on that team. Now the federation side of it, they do get some help, but only when it comes to WPA events, right? They're not helping them travel to the whatever it is, Asian Open. They're not helping them travel to the U.S. Open. They're not helping them travel to any of these non-WPA sanctioned events, right? But don't you think that maybe they oughta, right?
Well, you said before that at some point they should be able to leave the nest and go be pros. That's what
Well, I just
that's what they're being allowed to do now. The federation's not
well,
going to foot their bill to do that.
if you're gonna help them with other events, why cherry pick just based off of the guys who you're in bed with, then, Mike? That's my thing.
Because I think for some of these people, that's kind of a
scratch your back.
stipulation with, I think that's stipulation with some of these federations and getting that government money is that they're dealing with the IOC recognized federation, right? The IOC recognized pecking order. Because that's, for a lot of these countries, that's the only way they're getting government funding, is if there's an IOC tie / World Games tie, for one reason or another. I don't even know why the hell that is.
Don't even get me started on the World Games, Mike. You had the whole Predator media team there taking photos, and
No.
it was no streaming was done. Don't even get me started on the 12 people who
I'm
watched
not talking about the value. I'm not talking about the value of the World Games. I'm talking about the value of the World Games to countries who get funding based on stuff like that, and players who get, if a federation gets government funding and someone medals in the World Games, they get money from their federation, good money. Now, was the World Games worth watching? No, it was horrible. But for these players and for the associations, for their countries,
I heard the matches were great. Just nobody was able to see any of it. Just couldn't see them. Yeah, typical pool world, huh?
Yeah, it's yeah.
I don't mind the other side of the argument, Mike, and I'm not here to be some WPA hater. I just don't like how they cherry pick. I don't like the back dealings that they go and do at the expense of players. I don't like how they're making players be in an even more difficult position when the sport's already tough enough as it is. Because as much as Sean wanted to be like this when it talks about the calendar for next year looks pretty good, we have a lot of companies wanting to add $50,000 events.
Yeah,
it's kind of like it is right now, Mike. Right, yeah, that they were there knocking Matchroom.
Their schedule is 4.7 million, which is more than Matchroom's. And I'm thinking, who are you? And this is where the WPA goes off the rails and tries to be what it's not even supposed to be. They're not the event promoter. They're not the one raising the money. They're just
clearly they're not that.
They're grabbing the coattails of events that have money. But if you ask me, and this was part of the thing, all this stuff I'm on about, about WPA needs to go away. I think that WPA going away would be harmful for pool. Because I think if the WPA went away, a lot of this government funding for a lot of these federations goes away with it. And then, so, you get into, again, countries like Germany, whatever, where they develop young talent, they're going to be on their own. Marit's going to be a 16-year-old kid with nobody fending for him. He's going to have to learn on his own, fight for his own, get his own money, not get any training, whatever. If he gets to the top, it's going to have to, the U.S. would love for this to happen, because then the European and Asian juniors wouldn't be beating us like a drum every year, because we don't have a system like that here, right? So I don't want to see that go away. I think there's value there.
But so then that goes
they just need to fine tune who the hell they are and what they're supposed to do, and stay out of everybody else's way.
You said it right there, because that's what I was going to say. It goes back to this old phrase that I remember so well that my mom told me: kind of mind your own damn business, stay in your own lane, Mike. You stay focused on.
They have to get their lane defined. And
listen, they're so busy trying to grab from every which way they can. Let me grab hay ball money. Let me grab 10 ball money. Well, let me knock 9 ball when 10 ball is paying me. Then when 9 ball comes back around wanting to pay me, then we want to say it's a legitimate sport all over again, right, Mike?
Right,
because how many times over the last however many years do we hear them talk about 10 balls more of a professional game, 10 balls more of a professional game? You know what? I hope they open Doha and China player meetings by saying, 10 balls are more professional game, but welcome to this amateur game in 9 ball here. I hope that they open up by standing true to who they are, Mike. And do you think they will? Because I don't.
I think that, I think that they need a big overhaul. I don't know how you do that with an association like that. It's like trying to say you want to overhaul the FIFA, like someone said, or the IOC, because there's plenty of corruption in all those, and plenty of you just can't displace people. You just can't move them out of the way. They're in there for life. There needs to be an overhaul in the structure at WPA, and they need to just get back to doing what they're supposed to do. I do think that there's value they provide, and that's just having a world. Just having a world organization to help develop the game and promote the game. And it's not about amateurs and pros. They should promote the whole game. They should promote the pro game.
Well,
They
then,
should promote
then
these
they're
guys who get
then
medals at the World Game. They should promote people, things like that. There's definitely a place for that in there. What they don't need to do is get their themselves caught up in who should play where and when.
I agree with that. I'm
I think
not
that
arguing that.
there's value to there being a world association where there's one world championship in 9-ball. Where WPA goes away, you know what I would do if I were Predator? The next day, I'd have the Predator World 9-ball championship. Muddy the waters. Fuck it. If Matchroom's going to have a World 9-ball championship,
why not?
We'll
why
have
not, Mike? Hell yeah, let's do it. I'm in.
We'll have a Windows Open World 9-ball championship, and then we can go back to the way it was in the 80s.
We're going full Charlie Williams on the entire sport. I like your style, Mike. Let's do it. Why not? Why not?
Let's just have like 25 World 9-ball championships.
Let me call the trophy company right now. Get them on the line.
So there's there's value in just having some kind of structure like that. So between that and between developing the youth, stuff like that, if WPA goes away, does Matchroom want to take all that over? No, they're not going to. I wouldn't expect them to. So who's going to do it?
I don't think they owe it to anyone. I think they're a private company wanting to capitalize on the game of 9-ball. God bless
exactly, you. And that's exactly what they should do. It's like, it's
so if somebody, listen, I don't mind throwing some jelly when you add something to where I'm eating at, Mike, to add value to the food I'm getting, right? Or to help increase the overall experience. But when you just take and you don't add, that's where I scratch my head. And these guys, these guys have been around for a long time. I'm not here calling for anyone's heads. I'm just saying that I'm tired. I'm just here tired of the way shit's been,
I want heads to roll.
And it's not. It's listen.
I want heads to roll. Man.
You were on. What? This show just took a turn here, Mike.
No. I said when I came out, I said, listen, I'm not I'm not a big defender of the WPA. I just think people need to understand some of their existence a little bit better.
Nobody's saying no. Matchroom's not bitching about anyone having the 10-ball or so and so owning the 14-1 or Buffalo's having the 1 pocket that Beard's Digest won't cover. I'm kidding.
You haven't learned the features coming.
But it's no one's complaining. Do your thing and do the best at it. And if you can't do it, hey, listen, they're still doing it on their own. They're doing it without getting help from the WPA or without getting help from any or paying anyone out by shaking them down. And they're still figuring it out. Payouts aren't what they're supposed to be. I don't think Emily or anybody else would agree.
Right.
But it's going the right way. It's a lot more hopeful and optimistic than what it was a few years ago, like I was talking about. Whereas before the WPA couldn't even keep the waters calm with everybody when there was only really 2 players involved, right? They couldn't even do that, Mike, Yeah. But you want to, this is what gets me even more annoyed and pissed off with these guys, because then they go all over social media and then Aishan tells us we're all going to Doha to go have a General Assembly meeting. Listen, buddy, let me introduce you to an app called Zoom. Send me the money you were going to go and spend for all those flights and hotels and accommodations, and we'll put that towards bettering the sport, or better yet, promoting the sport, which is what your ass should be doing in the first place, right? But they don't want anyone looking behind their doors, Mike.
No, they don't. And it was interesting when we had Ishan on there and we were talking about this new Asian Confederation of Billiard Sports that's the new member of the WPA that replaced the Asian Pocket Billiard Union, APBU, right? And he said, well, the APBU wasn't disclosing its finance or whatever. Well, if you look on the APBU site, the big letter from them when they got bounced from the WPA was that they had been insisting that the WPA and Ian Anderson and whatever disclose their finances on where all the money's going that they take in, and the WPA wouldn't do it.
Where's accountability at, Mike? If you're responsible for the sport, then you owe it to that sports public and those players and those members to let us know, hey, listen, where are you spending? How responsible are you being with that money that's supposed to be investing? Listen,
no more business class tickets to board meetings.
I've always said this, Mike. I don't want to tell anyone how to spend their money. I don't get in my nose when it comes to Matchroom and their shit. But you know what? They're a private business. They do as they want, what they want with their money. Now when you go and shake somebody down and you say, hey, listen, I'm here to help grow and promote and all these things that you don't do, I have a hard time because then I want to know what the fuck you're doing, Mike. Then
Yeah,
I
no,
want
I
to
would
know,
love to know.
you
I
know,
would love to know where their money goes. I
and
don't think
and
they
and
got as much of
you
it
know
as
what
everybody
that
thinks, but I still think I'd
I
like to
well
know where.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. But you know what? What it would do, Mike, is if they marketed themselves better, it buys patience. It buys understanding,
Yeah,
right? It
right.
does. Instead of you know what guys like Roy Pastor and Stewart and all these assholes, instead of going on social media and saying
Preach,
what
preach.
Matchroom's contract is, you ought to be saying what the WPA does, all the positive things. That's what I would be doing if I want to build up my house, Mike. I'm not going to
Yeah,
care about what you're doing. I'm going to tell you what it is that I do. I'm going to tell you what it is that I'm focused on. How are the things that I'm improving? But
right.
instead, they focus their energy on doing that over this past weekend's shit show. This is what frustrates me, and this is what just gets me so fired up to it. And it's at the expense of the players because it's the guys that are trapped by these federations that are handcuffed. Polish, and you know which ones, the strong ones, the Netherlands,
Yeah,
Poland, Germany, all these guys that they do get help to some extent. These are the ones that are going to get punished. And the more that we start seeing these types of, like the post I put out this morning from the Belgian Federation, the more you start seeing people stand up for themselves. I'm curious to see what the EPBF's going to do when people start standing up for themselves.
well,
Let me say something. They're not off limits here because I can stick my nose over there in their business too and start pulling back the blankets as well. And I don't think they're gonna like it. I don't.
yeah, yeah. No, they wouldn't like it. The message from Bob, from the Belgian Billiard Federation was interesting. It was really good. But even he, said, there's there's a necessity for an association like WPA in pool, a world body. They just
Yes.
need they just need
Listen,
to
man,
be
I would love
they
if
just
they
need
could
an
get along,
overhaul.
Mike. I would love if they could get along, right? But here's the deal. Even if they were to say Matchroom and them get together, which I doubt it's gonna happen anytime soon,
Yeah.
but let's say they get together and they figure out a way to work together and say, hey, listen, this is what we're gonna do. We've agreed to work with one another. There's still a lot of questions when it comes to the WPA that need answering.
Yeah, no doubt.
Irregardless.
They need to be dressed down and figured out and exposed, their finances, their structure, all that needs to be a little more transparent. Um, oh,
Listen, they can
is
they can
Emily
come back.
coming? Emily, are you coming with a serious question, or are you are you commenting on a serious
Emily,
question?
you know the window is always open. You can come on anytime. If you need me to send the link, I'll be glad to send the link. Um, it's I didn't listen. Neither one of us
I hope that
expected
wasn't
any.
your serious question.
What did you two talk about before? Now, listen. Who's grown pool into a year-round conversation, Mike?
you,
No, I
you.
don't know if it was me. I enjoy talking about it, and I found some sickos that enjoy it along with me. Is all I did. I just surrounded
Yeah,
myself with people who enjoy it just as much as I did. But it feels like more of a proper sport with seasons and events coming day in and day out,
yeah,
and things to look forward to. One knock that I always had when it came to the Pro Billiard Series was that what are they playing for? I get they're playing the event, but like one thing that I love about Matchroom is that they're playing towards something. They're playing towards making a Mosconi Cup team. They're playing towards making the World Pool Masters. They're playing
yep,
towards making the World Cup of Pool. I understand what they're working towards.
right.
Where the Pro Billiard Series, I never really understood, which, by the way, they had their own rankings that were separate from the WPA rankings that they were tying themselves to also. So, you can go look at that website and find those on there as well. It's some irony. But Mike, I don't know how we got here. Mike, I thought we were supposed to be talking pro WPA stuff from you. I don't know how we.
I never said I was talking pro WP. I just said I think there's a couple of points in this whole discussion that people would be better off understanding. I mean,
I
the stuff like, I'm not going to say his name, but the pro player who said, what about WPA stealing 5% of our money from the Mosconi Cup? No,
Yeah.
not correct. WPA didn't take any money from the players in the Mosconi Cup. Okay.
So why would he say that for, Mike? Because
Because there was
recap this.
5% deducted from their checks. Okay. That
That went
that
to
that was Matchroom's prerogative. Not WPA didn't say every player has to pay us 5%. So every promoter has the option of paying that sanction fee, correct? Some choose to take it out of the players' checks. Some pay it separately. And
And
at the end,
for clarity, right? Because I saw the post you put out right before we went live, right? So Emily said, when replying to that question, we agreed to pay all WPA sanctioned fees, not taken out of the players, but pay it themselves. Did I read that right, Mike? In your post you put on just a few minutes ago.
yes.
Okay, so just so we're clear, they offer to pay it for the players.
Okay.
Just to try to
Which
keep the
is new for them. Which I would applaud like crazy, because I didn't, I found it very strange that what WPA sanction fees they were paying were out of the players' expenses.
They would
But
get
but
more
it's
patience.
again, that's not the WPA shaking down the players. And I'm not saying I'm not saying Metro's shaking down the players. I'm just
Oh
saying.
no! Hey, listen,
I don't want that smoke.
If anybody can twist around words in this industry, evidently it's me, Mike. So
Yeah, really.
I'd be
So
careful what to say here, pal.
yeah. So no, but I would love for all promoters, if there was WPA sanction fees, if anybody's going to pay them, I would love for them, pay them out of a separate fund than out of the players' prize fund. Wouldn't
And
you?
listen, that's something that we're only finding out after asking questions because of shit that the WPA is putting out there. Now that this conversation is being had, now we're learning this. They're not putting this out there for the sake of saying, hey, listen, this is the badge we're wearing to go and get patted on the back here. That was
Yeah.
something that they offered to do behind the scenes, which is pretty great for the sake of the players, Mike. Not for the sake of let me just take. I just I don't know. I want to get somewhere productive with these guys. I do. And that was the whole point of having all these different perspectives on, having all these guys on here. And
Yeah.
you know what? Just like you've reached out to players who don't want to, don't want their name put on it, which I get completely. I've reached out to federations. I've reached out to other members within the board to see if they want to come on. I would imagine they don't after the last few trips they come on here.
We'll
But
see who's got stones and who doesn't.
But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to keep on asking. And one thing that
No, but think of how much more you've learned in the last couple of weeks about everything that goes on in this.
Well, I don't know.
through
That's
all
a good
this.
thing or a bad thing. I just come back from
Yes.
junior nationals where
Knowledge is power, Mike.
Well, I come back from junior nationals and I get re-inspired, right? And I see all these kids who just want to play pool. And then I see all these posts from all these players over the last weekend where they say, I just want to play pool, right? The Spaniards, Chew Up, all these guys, they just want to play pool, Mike. Let them play pool where they want, how they want, when they want to do it. Let them play, man. Listen, they're already climbing up a hill where it's hard enough to make a living. They're having to get super creative in order to crack a nut with anything. But they're doing it because fundamentally, in their spirit, in their soul, they just love the game. They love getting tortured. They love the joys. They love the highs. They love the lows. They love the shots. They love the misses. They love every part of it, Mike. They're living their dream. And you got guys who are sitting there saying, hey, listen, if you don't play ball the way that I want you to play ball, you're not going to be able to play ball, or you're not going to get any help from us going forward.
Right.
And that's the part where that shit just kills him, because it doesn't have to be like that for him. It doesn't. I'm not saying Matchroom is perfect and they haven't made any mistakes, because even they'll tell you that they fucked up plenty of times along the way. And most of the time, whenever they do, we're here calling them out on their bullshit as well. But when they're trying to grow something, I can see growth, because I can see where it was and I can see where it is. And I'm more optimistic, and I want to know what it's going to look like in 18 months from now, in 5 years from now. I have something to hang my head on to say, hey, you know what? They deserve a little bit more patience just because of where it's going to now. Whereas the WPA, what are you going to sell me on? You had somebody from Doha come in and wanted to throw 50,000 and throw 2.5% to your way, and that means that all of a sudden you're doing something great for the game. Spare that bullshit for another pool player who wants to keep his mouth shut, because that's not me. Anyway, where do we go from here, Mike? Where do we go from here?
I don't know. We gotta take over the WPA. No.
I thought, listen, correct me if I'm wrong, but they offered you the role of president way back when. Am I wrong in saying that, Mike?
Oh God, yes, you're wrong. Nobody's ever
is
offered
that
me the president anything.
well? Listen, let me write some letters. Let me write some letters and
What the
see
hell
if we
would I
can get
want to
you.
do that? What would I want to do that for? No,
It's a lose. It's a tough spot they're in, right? And that's
it is.
we,
You know what they need to spend
we
their
would
money
all
on
agree.
more than anything? Forget marketing. They need a PR director. They need someone to craft their image because it sucks right now. And
Look, man, they could have they had 6
plenty
weeks
of opportunities
to figure out. They had 6 weeks to figure out what the hell they were going to say when they came on
Yeah.
here, and they knew that it was going to get tough. The only things they didn't know anything about were the Polish questions that we asked them and the Asian question, but they knew right before. And I'd imagine that they kind of had an inkling of what was coming because that news had just recently came out publicly. So that,
Yeah.
but everything else, they had
6 weeks notice.
to,
Yeah.
to prepare, and it still came out looking like that. You know, listen, I'm not here making anybody look bad. I'm sitting here listening to them speak the things that they want to speak. I respond based off of what I hear, and then I'm not gonna be unbiased for the sake of being unbiased because I'm a passionate guy. It's in my blood, Mike. It's in my culture, you know.
It
And
is in your culture.
my girls will never be pool players, but God forbid if I had a kid who wanted to be a professional pool player, I'd probably be even more passionate. You know, I
Yeah.
want them to be able to follow their dreams. And there's all of those kids who are out there traveling to China and Qatar and everywhere else. That's all they want to do, man. Let them do what the hell they want to do. You know, if they want to go bust doing it, God bless you. Go bust doing it. You know what? And then if they want to, and listen, check it out. That kid who won that Formosa event, the CBSA event, Ryan
Yeah.
Sue. So Ryan, the last time I saw him before Vegas this past year, last time I saw him was in the final 16 of the US Open that year that I was there. And I remember seeing that kid and I had never seen him before. And I said, who the hell is this kid? But he follows up with going to the Texas Open and goes pretty far, right? Then he falls off the face of the map because he had to go and join the military in Taiwan. That was a part of the age that he was in.
Right.
I think he was only like 16, 17 at the time, right? He comes back. Last time I seen him was in Vegas this past year. And I hadn't seen him in years, and that's whenever I got all this backstory. In the meantime, he was helping train students out there in Taiwan, figuring out a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, Mike. And now he's a champion of a very strong event, and congratulations to him. You know,
Yeah.
you talk about how unorganized the Americans are. You still have a guy who's going after number 6 who figured it out for the last 20 plus years, and Shane, without the help of any federation or any kind of government support, right?
Right.
He grinded his teeth. He figured it out. He did whatever he had to do, go play in any bar table tournament or national tournament or now global tournament, you name it. You know, they figured it out. Why the hell is anyone going to get in their way? Why, Mike? You know?
No. I love stories like Shane's. But wouldn't you rather have, something where kids were getting help, learning along
Of
the way,
course, ideally,
getting instruction,
yeah.
getting
Yes.
coaching, getting some help along the way. That's what I think is possible in the backgrounds of a pro circuit like Matchroom. Let Matchroom do what they do, 100%. Let them build up pro tour. I'd love to see. We both want to see them get to the point where players make real money being in the World 9-Ball Tour, where the top 25 are making, clearing $100,000 a year. We all
You
want
mean
to see that.
after expenses? Hell yeah, we would all love to see it. And this is why I was talking with your boy Peter out there at Texas Open. Mike sent a writer out there to cover the Texas Open, right? And so
He's
whenever he
mini
get
me.
and by the way, look, let me see if I can bring up this kid's photo because he looks like a 25-year-old or 22-year-old Michael Panozzo. Anyway, let me turn up the camera. But anyway, so he comes in and I start telling him about the players in the room, right? I'm start telling them about this guy and that guy. You want to talk to this person and that person. Let me see if I can show the camera here. But this is what the kid looks like, right? He's got the curly hair, just like Panozzo does, right? Tall as can be, just like Panozzo. And I start, and through the course of telling him some of the players, I told him about Shane and Tony, and this is the owner of the room, and this guy has a lot of history here. Part of that was I showed him Savannah Easton, right? And he was blown away by Savannah's the conversation they had. And I told Peter, I said, man, this is what, infuriates me about pool, is because a girl like that is not a great pool story. A girl like that is a great sports story.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
when Shane comes back and beats Dennis by when down being down by 20 games, that was a great sports story. That wasn't a great pool story. The game deserves to be better than what it is. And I'm not going to sit here and let guys who are just shaking people down get away with selling me on this idea that because they're the authority or they work with this, that, and the other. I don't care. Show me what you do. Let me know what you do. I'll give you respect where it's due, right? I'm not going
Yeah.
to just knock you for the sake of knocking you, but don't think you're going to get it just because of the position that somebody may have granted you 30, 40 years ago, because that wasn't me. That ain't going to be me tomorrow. It's not going to be me today. It's not. I'm going to keep
Yeah.
on asking questions, and it is not going to be specific to the WPA, because I'm going to keep asking questions to the EPBF. I'm going to keep asking questions to any other federation, and I'm going to keep making them as uncomfortable as can be until shit starts getting better for these guys. And that I can guarantee you on.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's commendable. You're
well,
the man. You're
guys,
just the man. You're just the man to do it.
well, I,
There are,
I,
go ahead.
what's that, Mike? No, go ahead.
There are a couple of things I want to catch up on here. Jackie keeps asking about the matchroom ban and asking Emily to discuss things without sounding self-serving. If you go on Billiard Digest Facebook page, we posed those questions to Emily, and she responded to them on the Billiard Digest Facebook page. So you'll get your answers
It
there.
does.
We did
It
discuss
does
this a
sound.
little bit earlier.
It does sound self-serving, but it's very true, though. It's very accurate.
Well, unless you want to get into a whole discussion again here.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm just giving. No, listen. Mike got the answers. It's very informative.
And also to Mike Holm, couldn't send a writer out to Buffalo's. That same writer is coming to Buffalo's next year, guaranteed for the whole week, and that's a sports story. That's a human interest story. And wanted to do that this year, just couldn't get it done. And so, I guarantee you he's there next year for the whole week.
I thought I was going to come out here and get my ass chewed out for for this past weekend. I get message from Joey and he says, "Mike, you're being too harsh. Mike, you're being it's too much going on with the WPA. You got to take it easy. You got to be more balanced. You got to be more." Listen, I'm going to be me. Carl keeps on bringing up this $100 entry fee for the Europeans. Are we talking about the European Championship? Is that what we're talking about? So they get I would imagine that's what it is. They get every player to pay $125 to play in each discipline. They don't pay out any money, and God knows what they do with that money on top of everything else.
They buy flowers. Everybody gets flowers. Everybody gets bouquets of flowers.
Do they give anything to the 3 people in attendance? Do they give anything to those 3 people in attendance there?
Free bratwurst. Sorry,
Yeah, we missed the joke, Mike. Listen, this is not going to be the end of all these conversations. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to keep on talking about it. We're going to keep on keeping it on the forefront. There's other things in pool to go and discuss as well. It was a great weekend with a lot of champions being crowned in Federer and Tyler Steyer, who won the Texas Open.
How cool is that?
Congratulations to Tyler. It was funny because I'll paraphrase what he said when I talked to him earlier in the day that day. He says, "I'm going to keep chasing Shane down until I beat him." And he beat him, and then he beat Vitali in the finals. He came up just short in Sacramento a few weeks back. I was there at 2 a.m., whatever it was, when they finally finished. So I'm really happy to see him kind of get over the hump, get a pretty big victory, a pretty solid payday. There's one as well. Jeremy Jones says he won in serious style. He sure did. That kid is looking poised, Mike, and I would bet.
Yeah, no, I tell you what, Jeremy, I know he never roots against Shane, but watching Tyler play the way he did out there had to make Jeremy as giddy as shit, right? I mean, he's got to be as happy as a clam going, knowing that he's got this guy rounding into this kind of form at the right time of the year.
In September, Mike, not January. In September, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, he's playing good.
That's what you want to see. So I'm gonna reach out to Tyler. I did reach out to Tyler, and we're gonna try to schedule him on. I'm also gonna try to get Federer on, along with Sophia Mass, a lot of the champions from this.
Yeah, how about that final? A 13-year-old and a 16-year-old in the women's final of the Texas Open. Good stuff.
Well, listen, I remember seeing them spend like a good 7 hours, both of them, on the TV table, at the junior nationals, just playing one semifinal, final after another, and one discipline after the next. And I keep on saying, and I'll continue to say it, atop of the mountain. They're not great junior players. They're great players. I think those
Yeah.
girls are the future. I think the future is very bright for both of them, but the present is looking pretty bright for them as well.
Yeah.
I know I know Savannah wanted to win it. My heart went out to it, but I was real happy to see Sophia did it. She beat Savannah
Twice.
in style. Yeah, 7-0 and 7-3 if I'm not mistaken, 7-4 maybe. So
Yeah.
it's a lot. There's going to be a lot more positives to talk about, and we're going to continue to do so. Mike, you're going to the U.S. Open, right?
I am going to the U.S. Open.
Are you gonna act like you don't know me, or are we gonna be cool over there? Because some of the posts online may have
Like I
hinted
said, I said
otherwise.
I love you like the son that I'm glad I don't have.
Listen, I got the world of respect to this guy next to me. I have no idea why he befriended me years ago, and I look up to him like a mentor. I really respect him, and I do. A lot of times, you guys will be funny to know. I ask Mike after I go dead off tilt. Usually afterwards, I ask Mike. I said, "Hey, listen, should I have handled this a little better?" And then Mike usually will check me and say, "Yeah, you should have handled this like this and this." And then I'm like, "Well, I'm kind of past the point of no return." But I'll take your advice for next time.
Yeah,
We
you still haven't taken the advice.
look at her. She's over here shaking me down again, like the WPA,
There you
and
go.
trying to get more money from my desk. She was over here
There you go.
with me at the Texas Open. This is my
I think she
youngest.
deserves. I think she deserves 5% everything you make off the
Oh,
podcast.
listen, she gets well off. She gets a lot more than 5%. I can tell you that. Thanks everybody for the support. We're gonna have a lot more shows coming up over the next week or however many weeks. So, anyways, keep your notifications on. It's only the beginning. And Mike, I appreciate you for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks.
See you guys.